Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraya Praeshu Vabhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. We've been going through the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj and the residents in Harivamsa, how they pray to Lord Nrsingadev. Right? So this evening we're on sloka number 12, which is in the 18th chapter of the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a well-known verse. Those of you who are studying regularly, you will know this verse. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunaistatra samaste suraha harava bhaktasya kuto mahatgana manoratena sati bhavato vahi. Prahlad Maharaj is praying that all the demigods and their exalted qualities such as religion, knowledge and renunciation become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities, even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives. He must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? It's an interesting verse, right? Just comparing the two, the devotee and the non-devotee. Prahlad Maharaj is praying that one who is a devotee, he has all the good qualities. And if you're not a devotee, you don't have any good qualities. You're condemned. We'll read Prabhupada's purport. He said, Krishna is the original source of all living entities. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Mamivam sajiva loke, jiva buddha sanatana, manashastani indriyani, prakriti stani karshati. The living entities in this conditional world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they're struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. Mana shastani indriyani, prakriti stani karshati. All living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore when they revive their original Krishna consciousness, they possess all the good qualities of Krishna in a small quantity. When one engages himself in the 9 processes of devotional service, meaning Shravanam Kirtan Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Sakyam Atma Nivedanam, one's heart becomes purified and he immediately understands his relationship with Krishna. He then revives his original quality of Krishna consciousness. In the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 8, there is a description of some of the qualities of devotees. For example, Sri Pandit Haridas is described as being very well behaved, tolerant, peaceful, magnanimous and grave. In addition, he spoke very sweetly. His endeavors were very pleasing. He was always patient. He respected everyone. He always worked for everyone's benefit. His mind was free of duplicity, and he was completely devoid of all malicious activities. These are all originally qualities of Krishna. And when one becomes a devotee, they automatically become manifest. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, says that all good qualities become manifest in the body of a Vaishnava, and that only by the presence of these good qualities can one distinguish a Vaishnava from a non-Vaishnava. Krishnadas Kaviraj has listed the following 26 good qualities of a Vaishnava. And then there's a list of the 26 qualities. 1, he's very kind to everyone. 2, he does not make anyone his enemy. 3, he is truthful. 4, he is equal to everyone. 5, no one can find any fault in him. 6, he is magnanimous. 7, he is mild. 8, he is always clean. 9, he is without possessions. 10, he works for everyone's benefit. 11, he's very peaceful. 12, he is always surrendered to Krishna. 13, he has no material desires. 14, he is very meek. 15, he is steady. 16, he controls his senses. 17, he does not eat more than required. 18, he is not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. 19, he offers respect to everyone. 20, he does not desire any respect for himself. 21, he is very grave. 22, he is merciful. 23, he is friendly. 24, he is poetic. 25, he is expert. 26, he is silent. Omagana Kamarandasya Tinanjana Shalakaya Chaksur Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vancha Kaupatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patita Nam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. So this is Prahlad Maharaj's prayer this evening. He's describing how one who is a devotee will have good qualities. And you can see from the 26 qualities, one is particular significant, that he's always surrendered to Krishna. That is the most important of all the qualities, to remain a surrendered soul in the service of Krishna. All of the qualities can develop through practice of devotional service. Of course, hearing the list, it's certainly overwhelming. You think, oh no, how can I ever come to that level and have so many qualities like that? It's, very challenging to think how you could be so wonderful and so saintly. But we have to understand that if we continue in devotional service, then gradually, we can develop these qualities. It comes about. The example is given that just like when you get in the airplane, at one minute the plane is on the ground, and the next minute the plane is way up in the sky over the city. We don't notice any big change. So in the same way, when we practice devotional service, it's like that. We don't notice a big change, but as we go on practicing devotional service, practicing regularly chanting the holy name, worshipping Krishna, bowing down, and so on, gradually, we start to develop all of the good qualities. And it becomes natural for us to follow the different principles and rules and regulations. And you can see that there's some examples how Lord Chaitanya would sometimes test devotees just to see how much they're following the principles. I was thinking, like, one of the ways in which Lord Chaitanya tested Sanatana Goswami was that he called Sanatana Goswami to come and see him, and it was the middle of the day. They were staying in Jagannath Puri. Lord Chaitanya stayed in the Gambhira, which is near to the temple of Lord Jagannath, and Sanatan was staying on the beach with Haridas Thakur. They were residing there, where near to where Haridas's Samadhi is situated today. So Sanatan, because he had been ostracized from the Brahminical society, because he'd taken up service at one point in the Mohammedan government, so he did not go into the temple of Lord Jagannath. He remained on the beach with Haridas Thakur. So Lord Chaitanya had sent a message that he wanted to see Sanatan. So it was the middle of the day, and it was the summer, and very hot, but Sanatan chose to go along the beach. And he went along the beach. He didn't come in front of the temple of Lord Jagannath. So when he got there, his feet were burnt because the hot sand. So coming along the beach on the hot sand in the middle of the day, he burned his feet. Maybe you've had that experience. I had that experience. Something, not intentionally, but when we were doing Govardhan Parikram, so you go around Govardhan Hill barefooted, and it can get very hot, and so your feet can get burned. I remember I was doing the Brajamandal Parikrama, and so the beginning of Kartik, it's very hot. The end of Kartik is cold. But the beginning of Kartik is still very hot. So somehow I got blisters on my feet at the beginning. Anyway, Sanatan, he got blisters also, and Lord Chaitanya asked him, he said, "Which way did you come, Sanatan? Which way?" He said, "Oh, I came along the beach." And Lord Chaitanya said, "Well, why did you come that way? You know it's going to be very hot, you burn your feet. Why didn't you come the other way in front of the temple?" But Sanatan said, "I didn't want my diseased body or my contaminated body to come in touch with the people who are worshipping Lord Jagannath. That the brahmanas, the pandits are all there in front of the temple. And if I come along in front of the temple, my body, which is very low-born and very contaminated, it may touch them and it's not good." So when Lord Chaitanya heard this, he thought, "Oh, this is very nice, very admirable, that you're so attached to not contaminating anyone, that you accept so much difficulty on your own behalf to avoid giving trouble to others." So Lord Chaitanya appreciated this test of Sanatan. Another example of how devotees sometimes follow the principles, Lord Chaitanya had converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya into a devotee. Now Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a smarter Brahmin, Bhattacharya, right? So he's a big man. And he was training the sannyasis there in Jagannath Puri. Shankaracharya had originally 4 mats, right? One is at Puri, one is at Sringeri, and one is at Bhadraka-ashram, isn't it? And one is at Dwarka. So the original 4 ashrams of Shankaracharya. So one is at Puri, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was there residing in Puri, and he was the head pandit in the palace, in the Jagannath Puri temple, and he would guide and instruct the Mayavadi sannyasis, and he would teach them Vedanta. But he had become a devotee. Lord Chaitanya had brought him into bhakti, and it was quite a big sensation, of course, at that time, because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was well known all around India. He was respected as the most learned pandit, a very great soul. And now he's become a Hare Krishna devotee, something quite sensational. So one morning, Lord Chaitanya went to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He went early in the morning, just after the first arti in Jagannath Puri, and he brought the Mahaprasadam from the temple, and he brought it to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he's a grihastha, they don't get up so early, So he was still getting up in the morning, and Lord Chaitanya said, knocking on the door, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya comes to the door and he sees Lord Chaitanya there, and he hands him this Mahaprasadam. So what does he do, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he's just got up out of bed, He hasn't cleaned his mouth out or anything. But Lord Chaitanya has given him Mahaprasadam. So what does he do? He immediately eats it. He honors the prasadam. And Lord Chaitanya is very happy with him. He said, yes, this is very good. He said, when we are given Mahaprasadam, we should immediately honor it. So he was very happy with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, because previously he'd been a smarter Brahmin. The smarter Brahmins are very strict about everything. Everything has to be done exactly according to the rules and regulations. Don't stand in my shadow. like this, these kind of things. So Lord Chaitanya is so happy that now he's become a devotee. Immediately he's ready to take the prasadam of Lord. So these are some examples of how a devotee develops the good qualities in relation to service to Krishna. And we want to cultivate these nice qualities. Devotion. One who is not a devotee, he may be very pious, religious, but he's under the modes of nature. If he's not a devotee, he's not transcendentally situated. He's under the modes of nature. Means sometimes he's in the mode of goodness, other times he can fall under the mode of passion, in the mode of ignorance. It happens, right? Somebody may be very pious, very good, you do your puja and everything, but then you get in the car and you go drive, you're driving to work and there's a traffic jam, and there's a big jam, or somebody hits your car or something, you can get quite angry, you can lose the cool, you could say. You may become more influenced by the lower modes, the passion and the ignorance. It happens. So one has to be transcendentally situated. Mam chayo vaya bicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunam samatichaikam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. That one who engages in my devotional service without falling down, then they immediately come to the level of Brahman. So that this is devotional service. Come to the transcendental platform. Don't be influenced by the modes of nature. And so, how to come to that transcendental platform? Just simply by engaging Krishna's service. And you can see the examples of, like the Goswamis of Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada gave sannyas to a couple of young men, and he gave them the names Goswami. It was very early in the Krishna consciousness movement. So they were puzzled that, Prabhupada's given us the name Goswami, is there anything special? And they asked Prabhupada, what is the duty of a Goswami? Is there anything special required from us? And Prabhupada told them, he said, you study the Goswami Astikam. He said, that is the duty of the Goswami. And so, some temples, we chant the Goswami Astikam in the morning. Maybe you also, sometimes I hear it also in the temple. Right? Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghujago Shri. So, Krishna Kirtana Gananatana Paro Primanvitambu Dira Dira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirnatsa. The Goswamis are dear to both the saintly and the envious. Even the non-devotees, they also like the Goswamis. Why? Because they have no envy. They're not envious of anyone. So this is appreciated even by those who are not devotees. They have no enemy. Prabhupada showed a nice example like this. At one point when we were acquiring land where the Juhu temple is today, in Juhu, Mumbai, we have a beautiful temple there for Radha Rasa Bihari. So Prabhupada had a bit of a struggle to get the land because one man was trying to cheat. He was saying he would give the land, but he would take the money and want to keep the land. So he tried to do this and he had done this successfully with other people. And then he tried to do the same thing with Srila Prabhupada. He wanted to get the money, and at the same time he wanted to keep the land. But Srila Prabhupada outsmarted him. And whenever Prabhupada gave the initial payment on the land, he immediately put deities there and established like a temple there. And so there was a great battle. This man, he had a lot of friends in the council and the municipality, and they were supporting him. And the police also, he'd gone to the police and he bribed them, and they were also supporting him. And it was quite a struggle at one point to try to keep the land. And Prabhupada was guiding the devotees what to do. And Prabhupada was, probably in America most of the time, but he was constantly in touch with the devotees by mail. There was no WhatsApp, there was no internet or anything. And so it always took time for communication. But still, Prabhupada was always guiding the devotees. And finally, it happened that the man who was trying to cheat Prabhupada, he had a heart attack and died. And then, of course, we got the land, without any more struggle. But Prabhupada, he never thought of the man as his enemy. He said, the man may think we are his enemy, but we don't think he's our enemy. We see everything in relation to Krishna. And so the devotee has no enemy. Just like Prahlad Maharaj was also encouraging his own father that he shouldn't make distinction between friend and enemy. He should see everyone equally. See everyone as a soul, servant of Krishna. See people in a spiritual light, not on the bodily platform. So in this way Prahlad Maharaj was encouraging his father. His father could not really understand this. But devotees, we want to cultivate that mood, to be friendly. We're the friend of everyone. And when we go out preaching and distributing books and trying to get support for our Krishna consciousness movement, we want to show that nice behavior to everyone. Srila Prabhupada was on a television program in the USA, and the man asked him, Swamiji, how would we recognize one of your members? And Prabhupada told the man, he said, oh, they will be a perfect gentleman. That was Prabhupada's vision of how we would see a devotee, that they will be a perfect gentleman, that their behavior will be so nice, it will be so pleasing to everyone. So Srila Prabhupada encouraged the devotees like that they should present the Krishna consciousness message in that way, that people will be pleased by it. So we try to show this kind of example. We try to teach people how to properly present the philosophy of Krishna consciousness without being too much attached and too much detached, but seeing everything in the hands of Krishna. We want to present Krishna consciousness to the whole world. Right? Prabhupada wanted Krishna consciousness, he wanted to fulfill Lord Chaitanya's desire that the holy name would be distributed in every town and every village, all over the world. So when Prabhupada first sent devotees to Africa, actually he sent one devotee to Kenya. So in Kenya there was an Indian community as well as the Africans. The Indian community, Gujarati people mostly, they'd been brought there to build the railway. They built some railway line from Nairobi to Mombasa. And after they got there to Kenya, they decided like to stay there. And they got some land and they could do farming and so on. And many of them also became shopkeepers, opened their shops and did business and so on. So when the devotees went to Kenya, they preached to the Indian people. And Prabhupada came there and he said, "Where are the African devotees?" Prabhupada didn't want us just only to go to the Indian people. The Indian people certainly supported the temple and they were very kind in supporting the temple. But Prabhupada was concerned, what about the African people? That you have to also go and meet the African people. And Prabhupada personally went. Prabhupada had the devotees arrange programs, go there into the villages where the Africans are and have a program and distribute prasadam there. So Prabhupada, like that, he taught us by his own example that we have to see Krishna in everyone. Krishna consciousness is for everyone. And so Prabhupada went to Russia, and he went to Russia, and in Russia at that time, it was 1971, Prabhupada went to Moscow. Russia was still the USSR, the Soviet Union. It was the communist bloc. So Prabhupada went there, but somehow they were able to meet one very nice young Russian man who was very interested in Krishna consciousness. It happened actually, Prabhupada had taken Shamsundar Prabhu with him, one young American man, had gone as Prabhupada's secretary. So he was out trying to get some rice, with great difficulty, found some rice, in Russia, not easy to get rice. Anyway, he was purchasing some things to cook for Prabhupada, and these Russian boys saw him, and they approached him, they said, "Have you got any Beatles music?" Because in Russia they banned the Beatles music. You see, they thought this is very dangerous for young people. We don't want to pollute the minds of our young Russian people. So they banned pop music. There was no pop music allowed in Russia. So the young boys, they had heard about the Beatles and they wanted some of the music. And so they asked this American devotee, "Do you have any Beatles music?" And he told them, he said, "Well," he said, "I can take you to meet the guru of the Beatles." And so they said, "Oh, that sounds interesting." So they came along and he brought them to meet Prabhupada. And Prabhupada preached to them. And they were so interested. They had such nice questions. And Prabhupada could understand. He said, "You see, it's just like when you cook rice. When you cook rice, you take one grain out. And if one grain is cooked, all the rice is cooked, right? All the rice. So he said the same way. He said, this one boy, he represents the whole Russian country. He said they're all ready for God consciousness. They want Krishna consciousness." So Prabhupada was so encouraged. This young man, Prabhupada actually arranged for the young man to get married to a girl. He had a young French woman, one of his disciples, that she came. She was initially in London, serving the deities in London, and Prabhupada had her give up that service and go to Russia and marry this man and stay in Russia and help preach in Russia. And even today she's there in Russia preaching. She's a very strong devotee. Anyway, Prabhupada did like that, to encourage the Krishna consciousness movement, even in these difficult places like Russia, where with communists they didn't want religion. The religion of the country is atheism. We want Marxism, we don't want Prabhupada. But Prabhupada was so determined. He was so fixed that Krishna, everybody wants to become Krishna conscious. Krishna's in everyone's heart. You could see that everyone had a need to awaken their consciousness to come to the spiritual platform. So all of these good qualities of the devotee, they all develop if one is surrendered to Krishna. This is the first thing, to surrender to Krishna. We just have to surrender ourselves to Krishna, to be convinced, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and I am His tiny servant. So we always pray, please engage me in your service. That is Prahlad's prayer, like that. Prahlad knows that by devotional service, everything will come about. Now Prahlad himself is born in the family of demons. His birth is not good. His father is a great materialist. He's born in the family of the demons. But Prahlad wants to be a devotee because he had association. He'd heard from Narada Muni. So he'd heard from Narada Muni and he'd become convinced that this is it. I have to surrender to Krishna. So this is the mood of the devotee. We want to give ourselves to Krishna. Prabhupada told us, he said, give this one life to Krishna. He said, you've already wasted so many lives in the material world. You've had so many lifetimes in this material world, in different planets, in different bodies. Now you've got this one life. Take advantage of this one. Give this one life for the service of Krishna. It will be your greatest benefit. You can get the greatest gain. You dedicate this one life to the service of Krishna. So like this, Prabhupada was encouraging us that we should dedicate ourselves, take up this Krishna consciousness movement. And of course, it's happening, it's going on. And more the devotees are starting to develop the qualities. In the beginning, we didn't know anything. You know, one of the big things, Prabhupada had a big, trying to train devotees just to eat prasadam with the right hand. A very basic thing, very simple thing. You know, if just like you go to Mayapur, you watch people in Mayapur take prasadam, everyone's just, you know, they only use the right hand. They never touch prasadam with the left hand. But other places, like you go to Russia or even the UK and like that, you know, Western people, they don't know these things, you know. We're accustomed to, and Prabhupada said, if you use two hands, it means you're a meat eater. It's a sign of a meat eater. And so Prabhupada was teaching us these very basic things, you see, rules and regulations, just to try to get us, to bring us to the platform of devotion. We want to be careful, try to strictly follow the principles. I was reading this morning, Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj was giving initiation in Mayapur, and he was telling the people, he said he had been in a flight one time, a long time ago. He was in a flight, and there was another Gaudiya person in the plane, and they were eating biscuits. And he looked on the packet of the biscuits, and it said there was eggs in the biscuits. So of course we don't eat eggs, devotees, we don't eat eggs. And he said, you have to be careful. He said, you have to read the contents, what's in these things before you eat them. So we prefer not to eat biscuits which are made in the factory. You go to the cake shop and things, you know, often they use eggs. They put eggs in everything. So we want to be careful to avoid these kind of things. And devotees, we're not fanatic, but we're just careful. We're just careful. We want to protect our Krishna consciousness. And it comes about by carefully following these different principles. cultivating the good habits, cultivating a taste for hearing more about Krishna, practicing very carefully, waking up in the morning, getting up in time to chant our rounds, taking advantage of the Brahma Muhurta period. It's important for us, these things. So when we practice these different things, we get the results. It happens. We can see. We start to change. It just comes about naturally. The example is given in script. Bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktir anyatra chaisa tar ekatao. Just like a hungry person, when they eat food, then they will feel a relief from hunger and nourishment and satisfaction. These things come about as you go on eating. So in the same way, in the practice of devotional service, as we're practicing devotional service, then we develop also detachment from the material, and we develop also that taste for Krishna consciousness. We become eager for chanting and for devotional service. We actually have we develop the desire to want to hear, we want to see the deities, we want to be engaged in some devotional activities. That all comes about naturally. Detachment from the world and a taste for Krishna. Just like the hungry person getting relief from hunger. So we get free from the attachment to the material energy. We stop worrying about our sense gratification, and instead we think more about giving service to Krishna. So this is the proof that we're actually progressing in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes people will ask us, how do I know if I'm actually progressing in devotional service? And so we know by how much we're becoming freed from the material desires and from the attraction to the material energy. The more we're becoming attached to Krishna, then the more we're progressing. The more we have the taste for dressing the deities and chanting the holy name, then the less there is taste for Maya, the material illusions. So this way Prahlad Maharaj is describing one who is a devotee, who's surrendered to Krishna. Then all the demigods, they bestow their blessings on that person because they've surrendered to Lord Krishna. So the demigods, they all give their blessings on that person. And with the blessings of all the different devas, all the good qualities become manifest in the devotee. So this is Krishna consciousness. Are there any questions?
Maharaj told now surrendering to Krishna. So how we can start, which way we can start? Actually, theoretically we know we have to surrender to Krishna. And practically how we will do that?
How do we surrender to Krishna? Well, surrender is described in the Bhagavad Gita, 1866, right? Lord Krishna says, Sarva Dharmam Hare Krishna, right? Give up all your dharmas, surrender to me, right? Give up all the material dharmas and surrender to Krishna. So, how do we do that? Prabhupada in the purport explains 6 items are there, which are all features of surrendering to Krishna. The first one is we accept everything which is favorable for devotional service. Everything which is favorable, just like they come and give you prasada, take it, honor it, respect it, right? You get an invitation to come for a program, take it, go for the program. Right? Accepting what is fit. Somebody gives you a book, Prabhupada book, take it, read it, study it. Right? Take advantage of the opportunities for devotional service. And then give up those things which are not favorable for Krishna consciousness. Right? We don't want meat, fish and eggs. We don't want onion and garlic. We don't want Bollywood movies. We don't want these different intoxication, gambling, illicit sex. These things, these are all very bad for devotional service. These are against the principles of devotion. So a devotee will be very careful to go away, stay away from where these things are going on. Right? And then third thing, we should think only Krishna can maintain me. Only Krishna is maintaining us. It's not my hard work, and it's not my intelligence, it's not my efforts, it's Krishna. Krishna is maintaining. Just like this temple, how are we maintaining this temple? Krishna's doing it. Right? We can't do anything, but Krishna does it. Krishna's doing it. We can see so many people coming, everybody get prasada. Who provides? Krishna provides. Krishna is the maintainer. And only Krishna can protect us. We try to protect ourselves. You get insurance policies to protect you. You get a big dog to protect you. You can get security guards to protect you. So many efforts, so many ways you can try to protect yourself. But still, you can still get sick, you can still get problems. Only Krishna is protecting us. We live by the grace of Krishna, right? As the Bengalis say, Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke, Rakhe Krishna. If Krishna wants us to live, we'll. If Krishna wants us to die, we'll die. We're dependent on Krishna. So Krishna is the maintainer, Krishna is the protector. Sometimes people want to worship Ganesh. Lord Ganesh will destroy the obstacles. Who is giving the power to Ganesh? Yat pada palava vinagidaya kumbha. Lord Brahma's prayer, he prays that power of Lord Ganesh is given. He's holding the lotus feet of Lord Govinda on his tusks. It's not his, he's getting the power from Govinda. So, it's not Ganesh. And we worship Lakshmi to get money. We think Lakshmi's maintaining. We do the Lakshmi puja to get the money. Is it Lakshmi who's giving it? No, Lakshmi is the consort of Lord Narayan. If there's no Narayan, then Lakshmi will not. She's Chanchala, right? Lakshmi's Chanchal. She'll go away very quickly. Come 1 minute and go. Won't stay. But if the Lord is there, if you have Krishna, who is Lord Narayan, not different from Lord Narayan, then Lakshmi will also give her blessing. So Krishna is the protector, Krishna is the maintainer, and we should have no desires other than Krishna's desire. That is surrender also, to give up our own desires. What does Krishna want? Let me do what Lord Krishna wants. That is what we want. That should be our mood in surrender. To take shelter to accept Lord Krishna's plan. We're not the controller. He is the controller. So we take shelter. See, what is Krishna's desire? And we should always be meek and humble. We should think of ourselves very low, very fallen. We're told, Shikshastikam, right? The third verse, very important. Think of ourselves lower than the straw in the street. Trinadapi sunichena amanina manadena. Right, very important verse. We're told, put that verse on a thread, wear it around the neck for constant remembrance. Right? We want to constantly remember that verse. And we want to think, what does it mean? Think of ourselves lower than the straw in the street. Our ego should be in proportion to our spiritual dimension. Right? There's the ahankar, the false ego. I am the body. I'm big man. You know, I'm 1 meter 8 or something, right? Very big man, you know. But we should think, I am 10,000 the tip of the hair. That is our spiritual dimension. 1/100th of the tip of the hair. That is our spiritual dimension. And we should think of ourselves in that way. Think of ourselves very small, insignificant. And in this way, amanina manadena, offer all respects to others and not be anxious for any respect for ourselves. So this is surrender, this is the mood of surrender, to come to that spiritual consciousness. Have the ego in proportion to our spiritual dimension. So surrender is these things.
Bharat, is ahankar the main obstacle for our progress? Ahankar? What? Is ahankar is the main obstacle for progress?
Ahankar, is it a main obstacle for progress? Well, certainly it's one of the obstacles. It means the bodily conception of life. We think I'm the body. So if we're in that consciousness, then how will you ever progress? We have to come off the bodily platform. So ahankar. Ahankara vimudatma karta amiti mani. The bewildered spirit soul thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are actually carried out by the modes of nature. So we have to come out of that bodily concept of life. We are not the doer. We are simply under the control, the modes, the gunas, the modes of nature. They're influencing us. So that is the ahankar. We're thinking, I'm the doer. I did it. I scored the goal. I hit the 6. I made the money. Like that, I did. But actually it's all the modes of nature. Whatever is happening, we're under the modes of nature. We're not the doer. And so, what is the real mode? What is the actual mode of the devotee? That I am the servant of Krishna. Nimitta matra bhava savya sachin. Just be an instrument in the service of the Lord. That is our position. That is the pure consciousness. That I am simply a servant of the Lord in His hand. He is the real doer. Everything is done by Him. So we want to come out of that consciousness to surrender to Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj is encouraging us. Don't be too attached to the family life and the bank balance and all of the things like the material world. They're all temporary. They're very temporary. They're finished very quickly. And so we have to be very careful to move on to develop our attachment to Lord Krishna, taking shelter at the lotus feet. Lord Krishna, Lord Nrsingadev, whichever particular form of the Lord is attracting your heart, you can worship like that. Okay? Any other question? So we'll have some kirtan. We're so fortunate.